Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 24 driver career mode with myself driving for Sauber in our rookie season. If you did miss the last episode around Silverstone, it was Oscar Piastri, a first career victory for our fellow Australian, with Sergio Perez finishing P2 and myself somehow, after missing out in qualifying, a very early knockout in our qualifying session, we somehow got ourselves to the podium with good strategy and just pure luck towards the end of the race. And it was a massive swing in the championship, with Lando Norris getting an engine failure right at the end, starting the final lap. Lando Norris gets an engine failure, so what could have been a massive swing in the championship for Lando, scoring what could have been a win for him and Max Verstappen at the time just outside of the points, could have been a massive change in the championship, but in the end it was Max Verstappen who extended his lead at Silverstone. But we move forward to the weekend of the Hungarian Grand Prix, a track that I am not really a fan of, so we're just going to be trying to get this weekend over and done with and just try and see if we can't continue the points scoring run that we've got. It's been a good run of form for ourselves recently, but we're going to go straight into some upgrades here in the aerodynamics. It's going to be the Halo upgrade we'll be having a look at, and if we do get this upgrade done, it's going to put us up near RB for our downforce, which is going to be a very big improvement for this car, as considering we struggle so much in the aerodynamics field of things. And if we just do our standard development for it, it's going to bring it in quite a ways time, actually, right before the Dutch Grand Prix, or we could rush and we'll bring it in before the Belgium Grand Prix. But since the failure rate is so high, we're actually going to go for just a standard development. We're gonna wait for it. It's a bigger upgrade, so we'll be happy to wait for it, and we'll go straight into our specialist here. So the power unit consultant, we're going to use ERS for 40 seconds, the material fabrication planner, 250 gear shifts, quality assurance tested 2 sets of tires during our practice session, and strategy analysis, we're going to perfect one practice program. And let's have a look at what has been put onto the car for this weekend. So we've got ourselves an ICE reliability upgrade, an ERS upgrade, and a general maintenance and lightweight pistons for increased power in our engine. So it looks like engine side of things, it should be a pretty good, and hopefully overall the car's now got a bit more power. And speaking of power, let's take a look at how the field shapes up in the R&D for the season. So McLaren closed the performance gap to Red Bull, and they're right there now with the Red Bull car. And Ferrari have also, they've had a massive jump in performance, and they have closed that season-long gap to the top two, and Ferrari are right there with Red Bull and McLaren now. Mercedes and Aston Martin still very close together in their performance, but they're now a fair bit back from the top three. Sauber, we now essentially are the fastest of the Formula B bracket, just ahead of the RB. Williams sit behind RB, then there's a little bit of a gap there to a very close Alpine and Haas. But now let's get into qualifying for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Hello and welcome back, and as you can see, the paddock is a hive of activity behind us. More action though going on behind closed doors, because Anthony Davidson, we are in the middle of silly season. There is speculation everywhere as to where the drivers will move around the grid. Tell me from a driver's perspective, just how distracting is this?
It is a distraction, and it has been up until this point in the season, especially when you're outside of the car. But once that helmet goes on and the visor's down, it's back to business as usual, and that's when you see it all melt away. You're in the car doing what you do best. But yeah, certainly out of it, you sometimes see it boil over. Drivers have a few strong words to say to each other after some moments on track, because it is such a stressful environment.
A huge mind game for all of the drivers. We're having secretive meetings, clandestine chats. What is exactly being said, though? Give us a level of insight.
So if you're not performing, obviously, we're in a very brutal world in Formula One, where the driver's data is there on show for inside your team for all to see, and you're constantly being compared against your teammate. There's nowhere to hide. And if you're not performing, then your team boss might be looking elsewhere and might not be telling you the full story. So sometimes you seek news from elsewhere in the paddock, even from the media. They might be telling you what's really going on with inside your team, and that's very uncomfortable. And then on the flip side, if you're having a great season, you might be the one having secretive talks with other teams that are performing better than your own team.
Okay, well, we're nearly out of time, so I'm going to send you to the commentary box, and we're going to get ready for today's Grand Prix.
No pit stops, no strategy. It's all about the pace today. Qualifying day here at the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well, in this session, we are just going to be trying our best, as this is not only one of my weaker tracks, but it is also a track that's definitely going to show the weaknesses of this Sauber car so far this season as we come around the final corner to finish our first flying lap, and it's going to put us P10 for now, but we're behind the Hasses, and theoretically off of our R&D performance we should be ahead of them, so it's not off to a great start as we do plummet down to P19, but our next flying lap, which was quite a good improvement, puts us only up to P17, so to say we're struggling is the least of our worries at the moment as we come around for our final flying lap, and it is P14. So is that going to be good enough to get us through? We'll have to wait and see. And Piastri is fastest in Q1 by 0.05 of a second to Charles Leclerc, and Russell P3 only 0.08 back, so it's very close. Bottas makes it into Q2, finishing P12. He's 0.7 back, and myself does make it into Q2, P15, making it in by only 100th of a second, so it's very close. But knocked out in qualifying 1 is Kevin Magnussen, Yuki Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly, Nico Hulkenberg, and Logan Sargent. As we come around, we're doing our first flying lap, and we get it loose, and we found the wall. What a start to our session. Not only was I late leaving the garage as I was trying to work out the best way to use the tyres I have allocated in this session, but I have just now wasted a set with doing most of the lap and then throwing it into the wall. So not only am I out of sync now, but I'm also now short a set of tyres. So now out on a set of slightly worn tyres, we're going to come around to finish off our qualifying session here, going a second better, but it's only P11. So narrowly missing out. And that is going to be Lando Norris fastest in qualifying 2 by only 0.04 of a second to Charles Leclerc. And Fernando Alonso, he's only 0.03 behind Leclerc there, so it is extremely close between the top three. Myself, yeah, in P11, missing out by only 0.3 of a second, but also knocked out in qualifying 2, Stroll, our teammate Valtteri Bottas, Alex Albon, and Daniel Ricciardo.
Welcome to Budapest once again for another round of Formula One action. Historically, a good race for first-time victories, with Button, Hill, Alonso and Heikki Kovalainen all reaching the top step of the podium for the very first time right here. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaro Ring are steeped in history and prestige. Overtaking's always been difficult on this technical 2.7-mile track, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. So let's hope we're in for another one here today. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. Edging out Lando Norris, he'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Russell, Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Hamilton, Ocon, Lightning, Stroll, Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Ricciardo, Perez, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Sargent, and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today.
Right, mate, I know it's hot in that cockpit, believe me, but your tyres are even hotter than that. You've got to work really hard today to keep them cool, otherwise we're going to suffer with our performance.
And just to add to the things that I'm going to be worried about, is so far this race, not only do I feel like I'm struggling with our pace, surprisingly, as you saw there, I have actually been promoted up a couple of places with other drivers getting penalties, so we find ourselves inside the top 10, but the heat, as Mark is saying, is going to be an issue as we are away here in Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's a pretty good start. We're looking to get around Hamilton, but where has Stroll come from? Stroll's had an absolute lightning start. He was on the road behind us, and now he finds himself already in front of us and looking up to possibly eye up a move on Oscar Piastri, but we're going to send it around the outside of the Canadian at turn 1 and hopefully try and get a run into turn 2 to try and see if we can keep this move stuck. Stroll defends, but he still left just enough of a gap for us to squeeze our nose in, and we're going to try and get back around him to get himself up into P7. He's going to send it back through, and we go slightly off, but we're going to keep the position and up ahead, and Norris and Verstappen go side by side, but it is going to be Norris that prevails into P1, Verstappen P2, Charles Leclerc P3, ahead of his teammate Sainz. And then it's Russell, Piastri, myself in P7, Stroll in P8. Lewis Hamilton's fell all the way down to P9, and Esteban Ocon's currently rounding out the top 10 here in Hungary on this opening lap. And going on to the second lap here, we've had the first lap to try and settle down just a little bit. Fernando Alonso, he's not wasting any time whatsoever to try and get himself inside this top 10. He's looking to get himself past the Alpine that he was racing against just a few years ago. He is now on his right hand side, and he is trying to get this move done. It's going to take him a lot longer than he's probably thought it was going to take. Esteban Ocon not making this easy for Fernando Alonso, but he does get the move done, going up into the hill there, into the second sector, and Max Verstappen sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, and going on to lap 3 now, we are under attack from Stroll once again. We go to the inside, Stroll's going to the outside, we're going to outbrake him just slightly there, and we're going to try and shove him up onto the exit curve to try and see if we can't ruin his run, but that exit speed and the DRS that Stroll has got is very powerful in this little short shoot between turns 1 and 2, and he's got the move done, so that is now us down into a P8, but back towards the front of the field here. Max Verstappen, he's looking to go for the lead of the Grand Prix here. It's only lap 5, and he's already trying to get control of this race. He sends it down the inside at turn 1 on Lando Norris, and that was a very easy move done by Max Verstappen. And further back, I'm now defending from Lewis Hamilton, trying to make sure we don't lose yet another position, and our defense has actually made Hamilton now vulnerable to Fernando Alonso. The two veterans of the sport battling it out in their Mercedes and Aston Martins, and they're going to continue going side by side up the hill, and it looks like Fernando Alonso will prevail in this battle, and that will get him up into P9, but only a few corners later, Fernando Alonso makes a very crucial mistake, and that is him not only now down past Hamilton, but he's now battling Ocon once again, someone who he battled really hard to get past only a few laps ago, and so that is essentially eliminated any progress that he's made during this Grand Prix, and he is now back into P10 and a fair bit behind Lewis Hamilton. On board with ourselves now, it's lap 6, and our engine is getting quite warm. Mark did warn us that it was going to be a hot one out there today. And sure enough, only 6 laps in, we've got the warning to say our engine's getting hot, and I nearly ended it all. Whoa, what a save that was from ourselves. On board with Fernando Alonso. He's caught up to the back of Hamilton, and Hamilton's done exactly what Alonso did just a few laps prior. He has locked up and gone off wide, and there must be something down there for them to both do it, or maybe they're just both making mistakes. We'll never find out, but Alonso, he's looking to try and get himself past myself. I outbrake myself just slightly. Fernando Alonso, he's gone for the switchback here, and that is going to put him up into PA. I've now lost out to Fernando Alonso and Stroll. Both Astons have got past me, and I am now trying to be defending for all of my might to keep P9 here. I do not have any pace whatsoever to try and make sure, well, I'll try and push myself forward into the pack. All I can do at the moment is just drive in my mirrors and try and make sure I defend as hard as I can. If I want to try and get myself a point here, squeezing Lewis Hamilton out onto the curbing there to try and make sure that he can stay behind me as we do actually pass our achievement there, and we do get low engine temperatures as we do a bit of an order check here after the opening 10 laps. Verstappen leads the way ahead of Norris and the two Ferraris of Leclerc in sight. George Russell, Oscar Piastri, the two Astons of Stroll and Alonso, then myself P9, and Lewis Hamilton rounds out the points so far. That's Esteban Ocon. Sergio Perez is down in P12. I did not notice that earlier. Yuki Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen, and Nico Hulkenberg, the two Williams of Sargent and Alex Albon. And then it's Pierre Gasly and our teammate Valtteri Bottas. He's already made a pit stop, so he's down in P19, just ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, who's in P20. On board with ourselves once again. We're under attack yet again from Lewis Hamilton. This time he's a bit further ahead, so we're going to have to really send it down his inside. We're going to give him the squeeze on the exit, and that is going to once again make Lewis Hamilton vulnerable. So he keeps falling for that. He keeps making himself vulnerable on the exit there of turn 1, trying to go for moves around the outside, and now he's under attack from S1 Ocon in the Alpine. I bet he wasn't expecting when he woke up this morning for the Grand Prix to be battling the Alpines. So the Alpines looking like they've actually got half decent pace, considering there's only one of them inside the top 10, and that is only a P10 at the moment. As now we are expected to box this lap. We've got both S1 Ocon and Lewis Hamilton with DRS looking to try and make a move. We have to defend one of them, and we choose Lewis Hamilton because I reckon we can probably defend S1 Ocon a bit better than we can Lewis Hamilton. We continue to go side by side through this little short shoot here, and we have got the inside line. Ocon seems to have the grip to keep going around our outside, and we'll try to give him the squeeze there, but he comes back at us, so we've had to go off the circuit there and rejoin just ahead of him. And while this is all going on, Mark has the audacity to talk to me while we're in the heat of the battle here to tell us that our laps are all over the place. No wonder they're all over the place, Mark. We're battling. As now the top 3 are coming in to the pit lane for their stop. Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc all coming in the top 3 in for their hopefully one and only stop. Max Verstappen leading the way as they come into the pit lane. It looks like he's going to be coming in for the hard tyres, confirming that he's going to be on the 1 stop there, whereas I think our teammate will be on the 2 stop since he's already made that pit stop of his. We come into the lane now to get it all slowed down nicely to for our hopefully also one and only pit stop here. You can see that we've got Ocon in the lane as well. Hamilton, Tsunoda, quite a few cars are in the lane at the moment. We get an optimal turn-in time, and now hopefully we can have a pretty good stop here to try and make sure that we do not lose any positions here, because I don't want to be undercut, I don't want to be overcut. I want to try and maintain my P9 at the moment, because I really want to keep this points hope alive here. And fast forwarding the lap as we cross the start-finish line, we're going to pass a few cars coming out of the lane here, and that's going to put us up into P12, with a couple of cars ahead of us still yet to make a pit stop as well. So hopefully we can get ourselves back into the points. But this isn't going to help our case if we want to try and maintain some points here. Esteban Ocon continuing to try and get past us here. This would be for a net P9, this battle here. We continue to go side by side as he sends it up our inside, and we're going to send it down the inside of him here at turn 2, and we're going to try and give him the squeeze once again. He's all the way up on the curb, but he is going to give us the squeeze now as he exits, and we're going to use a bit of slipstream up the hill and try and send it down the inside. We have to take it down an extra gear to get the move done, but we do get it done, and at the same time, Mark wanted us to get back past him, and we do that immediately. So, very rare case, so that we complete something pretty much as soon as it pops up onto the screen. Daniel Ricciardo now, he is one of the people yet to make his second pit stop, as he made a very early pit stop, if you do remember our first order check that he was running last, but he is now up into the points as he gets himself past Pierre Gasly. So Daniel Ricciardo up into the points, but just remember, he is still yet to make another pit stop here, and I thought we got rid of this issue. I really did think we got rid of this issue. We hadn't seen it for a little bit, but the no tyre pressure is back. So that is definitely something that we have to look at in our durability, as George Russell is now looking to get himself past Carlos Sainz. He is sending it down the inside at turn 1. He'll have a second dose of DRS in this little short shoot to try and help him get the move completed, and he is going to get it done. But Carlos Sainz is sending it back up to the inside. They continue to go side by side, but surely now George Russell, yes, he does get the move completed, and that is George Russell up into P4. And behind us there is a yellow flag. So who is having an issue here? Looks like possibly one of the RBs, and that would be Yuki Tsunoda, as Daniel Ricciardo is currently in the pit lane, and there it is. Yuki Tsunoda must have a engine failure of some sort from where he pulled off and the way he was slowing down. So very unfortunate there for what could possibly be my seat for next season. We'll have to wait and see. It's not a very good look to see the RB having so many reliability issues, since they do run the same engine as the Red Bull. I send it down the inside of Sergio Perez, but he's going to get the switchback on us, and he's going to get the better exit, and he's going to have DRS, so he's going to be having everything to his aid to try and get this move done. We're going to send it back down the inside, try and give him the squeeze. We send him right out wide, but in the end, he's just got the better traction on those hard tyres in the superior car, and he is going to get himself past us. And we're going to do another order check here now. The pit stop sequence has come to a close. Max Verstappen still leads the way ahead of Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. George Russell sits P4 ahead of Carlos Sainz, and then Oscar Piastri. The two Astons are Stroll and Alonso, P7, P8. Sergio Perez, and then myself rounding out the points, but very closely followed by Esteban Ocon, Daniel Ricciardo, Lewis Hamilton, the two Hasses of Magnussen, Hulkenberg, and then our teammate Valtteri Bottas, who made a second pit stop. Now he's stuck in the train. The two Williams, and then Pierre Gasly is currently last on track, as George Russell is now looking to get himself back past Carlos Sainz. So I missed the part where Sainz actually got himself back ahead of George Russell. But either way, George is not going to let this go very easily, and this time he's going to make a much easier pass to get himself back ahead of Carlos Sainz, as we now head back down the field to Daniel Ricciardo. He is looking to get himself past myself. He is on the fresher tyres, as he was able to extend his middle stint a little bit. So he is on about 4 or 5 laps younger tyres than myself, and he is going to try and get himself back ahead of us, and he has done so. But can we send it around his outside? We send it down really deep. We're side by side, but he gives us the squeeze there, and we are forced to back out of it, and we have got nowhere to go, and that is us. And now into P10. Are we able to try and maybe do a similar move to we did to the Alpine a few laps prior? No, we can't. And Mark wants us to try and get ourselves back ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, because we know that is going to be our only option if we want to get points, finish ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Unfortunately, we can't do it as we fail the objective there. Daniel Ricciardo, he's driven off. He's 7 seconds ahead of us. And this is just how far back we are compared to the leaders. Max Verstappen just crossed the line to win the Grand Prix. P11 finisher, so to say, Lewis Hamilton to try and make sure we can maintain this P11 finisher, so to say that we were struggling for pace is an understatement, as, yeah, Max Verstappen nearly gets to pretty much lapping us. But we come around the final corner, though, to claim a P11. It's a very disappointing P11 considering how far back we were, and that ends our points run here in Hungary.
The checkered flag is out. We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again because it's victory for Max Verstappen. Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently, and it's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they secured here.
So that was a 61st career victory for Max Verstappen here in Hungary. Lando Norris claiming a second place finish to keep his championship hopes alive, and Charles Leclerc P3 making it 3 different constructors on the podium, which has actually been a pretty regular occurrence so far this season. And we'll take a look here at the Piastri, the top 10. So it is George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Stroll, Alonso, Sergio Perez, and Daniel Ricciardo rounding out the points here. And yeah, a very disappointing P11 for myself. You can see that 1 minute and 11 seconds behind Max Verstappen. That is probably one of the worst finishes I reckon I've probably ever had so far this series. And our teammate Valtteri Bottas ends up P16. He tried to make a 2-stop work, but unfortunately got caught up in that train, being led by myself. And as we take a look at the Drivers' Championship, Max Verstappen leads by 20 points ahead of Lando Norris, and it's also Piastri sitting P3. He is 65 points back. Myself P8, we're 11 points behind Charles Leclerc, and our teammate sits P16. He is 4 points behind Daniel Ricciardo. As the constructor standings also shape up a little bit too, McLaren 51 points ahead of Red Bull Racing. Ferrari sit P3, 171 points back in Sauber. We're P6, we're 24 points behind Aston Martin, as our driver rivalry with Esteban Ocon is heating up just a little bit, actually. We're both very similar rated, and I am still level 84 and need to get to level 85. For our ratings, everything goes up, and we actually managed to go to an overall rating of level 84, and our driver recognition against Valtteri remains at 50-50. So we've got ourselves from a level from what 47% I reckon it was to 50-50. And for our specialists, we're actually nearly at a level 2 power unit consultant. So everything is shaping up quite nicely in this career mode. And if you did enjoy the episode, please make sure to like and subscribe, where for the next episode we'll be heading to Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. I'll see you then. See ya.